Seth!
The best we could ever plan. James Franco's having a giant party. This place is beautiful, man.
This place is like a piece of me. You two just stepped inside me.
You let us both come inside you. Yeah.
Boom. Thanks, James Franco.
Have you seen Michael Cera tonight?
What's up, Brianna?
Can't believe people still invite him places.
Don't touch my bump, bitch.
It's a weird face.
So hot.
This is the end. My only friend, the end.
Aren't you shocked they didn't use that song in this movie?
Are we reviewing Apocalypse Now?
Pretty much.
There is an apocalypse.
Yeah. Right now, yeah.
Ooh, maybe there's a connection there we hadn't even thought of.
Man, you guys got to help me out here because there's a lot of celebrities in this movie. And that's, man, I'm going to tell you something. Now, Leon, I know you're going to hold something against me. And I saved it just so we could have this review.
Because your boy shows up in it.
Now, you gotta do a spoiler, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
A spoiler?
Yeah.
It's actually a spoiler.
Yeah, people. In case
Ignore what he said.
In case you just missed what happened, the spoiler has returned. We thought we destroyed that vile villain.
Yes. Now that I've said this to you, the movie's ruined.
Don't do that, because then you're falling on that tact of people going, I don't see what's the problem. It's not like, what, you can't enjoy the movie just because you know how it's going to end? That's that same argument.
No, I'm not making that argument, but you guys are blowing this out of proportion.
No, we're not.
It's
But
actually
anyway.
a hinge on a major joke towards the end of the film. So
Yeah, come on.
So poo on you.
I tell you what. You want to know how he's going to rate a movie? Just see how much he spoils it. Because the more he spoils, the more he has an attitude. I don't give a shit about this.
True.
Spoil it for the people as long as I don't care.
Bullshit across the board. I'm sorry. I misinterpreted the joke you were about to deliver. Please.
There was no joke. There was no joke I was about to deliver. I was actually about to describe this as, I was saying, it was not a joke. I was saying that you and I were having a discussion earlier about this movie. And I was saying that, I was holding a lot back at the time because you were trying to read my body language during this movie.
Oh.
And you were saying I was sitting up there like a gargoyle and I wasn't laughing at this. I didn't like it, but I really do enjoy the premise for this movie. Now keep in mind, it has no bearing on how I feel about the film as a whole. But I really think this is great where this is Seth Rogen hanging out with all these celebrities who play themselves. And I like this because it's almost like a riff on reality TV or reality filmmaking or whatever.
You got it right.
Yeah. But this is what if we had a reality TV that had the most insane thing happen to these people? And in this case, it's the rapture. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are gone, but as we all know, celebrities, well, they're a bunch of assholes. So they are not going to heaven.
And apparently so are cameramen and directors.
Yeah. So they end up staying here. But it's not a reality show in that sense. This is not actually a reality show. The closest thing it gets to it is that these people are playing themselves. And the hook here is, what if the rapture happened and these people that we know, these actors, were left here on Earth and they had to survive, and they had to survive it not like in terms of, all right, we're here now, what do we do? No, they're monsters. It's almost like a zombie attack going on.
It's Revelations. It's all the shit in the Bible. It's the devil come to earth. It's all that
demons
shit.
Walking around.
Yeah. It's like, oh shit, bad scenario to be an egotistical stoner actor in Hollywood with all this going on around you. Not a huge advantage.
Bad decision to be hired by Judd Apatow.
I mean, like they take,
that's your punishment.
They take full advantage, and the biggest strength of the movie is they take full advantage of the playing with both these guys playing to how we really expect them to be, like Seth Rogen and Jay Baruchel, play themselves much like a lot of the characters they always get cast in anyway.
Sure.
Or people who are so against type that it's hysterical, like Michael Cera, who's a riot in this.
He's
playing,
great.
like the most obnoxious douchebag at the party.
Yeah. And that's what happens here. They may play themselves so much. So I'm going to go down the list here for your main characters. This Seth Rogen, James Franco, Jonah Hill, Jay Baruchel, Danny McBride, Craig Robinson, and then you have a whole bunch of other celebrities that get wiped out at the beginning.
Or have small roles.
Like Rihanna, she falls down into the fire pits of hell at the beginning.
All their friends.
No, you see that in the trailer and everything. I mean, they're hanging out with all these.
Has a small role though.
Who's that?
Emma Roberts, isn't that her name?
No, Emma Watson.
Emma Watson. I'm sorry, has a small role that does in fact continue into the film.
Man, and they're all at a party at James Franco's house, and they think they feel an earthquake, and James Franco's like, shit, I got so much money. I have an earthquake-proof mansion here. and that's, you can see all the attitudes that are being set up right at the very beginning. But I have to say, man, I think that this is genuinely the most original thing I've seen so far this summer, and I enjoyed the hell out of it.
It's a great concept. It really is. My fear was that it wasn't going to end up being that funny. And sure enough, there are points in here where like they are falling back on some of the same type of stuff that I've hated in other movies that they've done, but they're even self-aware about that at points in here. Even though there's a lot of the gross out stuff I usually don't like, for some reason in this scenario, it kind of works. And I found myself laughing at this much more than I have at anything else that's come out this year.
It seemed like one of those fun festival movies, like something you see at Fantastic Fest. And
it does.
Yeah, it's interesting that how much your idea on a concept like this would change when you put big stars as opposed to people you don't know, you never heard of, you don't give a shit about. I mean, because I could see this premise like falling flat. Because honestly, in some ways, I've seen this premise done before. If you watch horror movies, you've seen this done played out before, but not on a comedic scale like this. But using the Judd Apatow, Brat Pack, there are those things where these guys are pretty much playing themselves to the point where either you're going to like some of them or you're really going to hate some of them, because it's not like they're actually playing characters. They are playing. If you're annoyed by watching Michael Cera, you're going to be pleasantly surprised. But on some of these actors, if you're annoyed by watching their movies, you're going to be just as annoyed kind of watching this movie.
Well, I mean, and yet they acknowledge the fact that maybe people don't like that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, for instance, Danny McBride, who has indeed gotten on my nerves lately in films, is playing the guy nobody can fucking stand of The Survivors, because he's such a jerk, doing the same kind of jerky stuff he always does in his other things, except people are actually calling him on it, going, man, fuck you.
That's what's great about this. These guys,
off the island.
I really liked him a lot. I mean, I've loved Danny McBride for a long time, but and the last couple years, he's been sort of like wearing thin on me too.
Yeah.
But I loved him in this.
Yeah,
like when for me, the movie was really kind of running out of steam until he came on. I was like, okay, now it's waking up again. And
see,
I love him.
That's what's so cool about this is it's these guys not only, I mean, when you get past the whole premise of it, these guys just being dicks to each other after a while, just trying to survive and arguing over things like a Milky Way and Nutella and shit like that.
I don't think you should get the whole Milky Way. I want some of the Milky Way. I'd be pretty bummed if I don't at least get a bite of the Milky Way.
Oh, now Craig wants a bite of the Milky Way.
Yeah, I want a bite of the Milky Way. Everyone gets a fifth of everything.
I want 1/5 of your t-shirt. I want the bottom part, the belly.
I'm not sporting a crop top in your house.
I'll cut that off, make a headband.
You couldn't handle my midriff.
Guys, the only issue is I kind of need the Milky Way. No, for real, I have low blood sugar, and if my endorphins drop too low, I'm going to be a nightmare to be around.
What? Your LBS starts acting up, you can have a finger scoop of Nutella.
One finger scoop of Nutella.
Fair.
I think people can relate to this because even though they're actors and they're rich, I mean, when I was watching the movie, I was saying these guys, they're pretty much like us. But if the rapture had happened, we wouldn't last as long as this movie.
I can show you my bank account, and you would not say that.
Well, we are the poor version of them. And like I said, we would kill each other in 5 minutes.
I would be taping up my butthole real quick.
We do this.
Wait a minute. I would never do that to you. I'd go for Cyrus first.
We do the same stuff, just in not as nice a house.
Yeah, exactly. But fun game to play is who would be who in that movie. Like and you can't answer this. Who would Leon be?
Craig Robinson.
Craig Robinson, you would.
Okay.
All right.
Actually, he would be anyway, because he's kind of the guy who's like, I made some mistakes, but I want to be a good guy.
And I'm not even going for a joke here because I know I'd be Danny McBride, so y'all don't have to say anything.
I was going to say Jonah Hill, but
be Danny McBride.
I was going to say Jonah Hill, but hey, sure. But since you're the one deciding,
oh really? Is that what it is? Well, who would Cyrus be?
Well, I'd be Seth Rogen because I'm the one bringing the weed.
No, you be Jonah Hill.
I would be Jonah.
I've decided that for you. You be Jonah Hill.
You don't get to decide that.
Look,
Well, co-host would clearly be James Franco because he'd be in love with you.
I'm sorry, no. He'd be James DeFranco.
Of course.
Please let me be Michael Cera. Please. Yeah, I want it quick.
No, the only problem I really had with this, really, I had a fun time. Now, those times that you caught me in gargoyle mode is probably when I was looking at the parts where I thought, all right, the movie, you can almost look at it as being divided into skits, some parts of it. And I think some skits go on too long, so I just kind of ran out of fuel laughing when it got to that point for me. And some parts, they do feel like, all right, this, for the whole movie, this could have been something on Funny or Die. instead of being a whole film.
It's like a long version of that.
Exactly. But then they would come back in and do something else that I think would be clever, because really, I mean, I like how the movie commits to the idea. There's only one part in here where they do something, I think you see it in the trailer. They do a riff on The Exorcist that really stood out to me. And I thought that doesn't fit here.
Oh, I thought that was one of the funniest things in the whole movie to me. I couldn't stop laughing. That whole sequence, the way it played out, I couldn't stop laughing. That was one of my favorite parts in that movie.
I was just surprised that they used that, knowing that Exorcist scene has been done over and over.
That's it, yeah.
Even this year.
Yeah.
But they found a different way to do it, ultimately. The way they have Jonah Hill as this possessed guy responding to everything else that's going on in the room. Go like, hey, I'm still possessed by the devil over here. I thought it was really funny.
I was just hoping that the demon Leslie Nielsen would come in the room and do his bit too. But I mean, I will say I didn't hate it. I mean, it could have gone a lot worse. I didn't necessarily hate it. I was just surprised that they just decided, hey, why don't we do an Exorcist scene right now? Well, but that's the thing. When I think when you could tell that the movie is letting these guys ad lib, I think that's when it's kind of at its cringe worthiness. But when they're actually moving along, trying to figure, okay, guys, we got to get supplies now, or we got to go see what's going on. You know, when the movie's giving them something to do where they have no choice but to interact with each other, I think that's when it really works.
That's why I agree with. That's what I was talking about. They commit to the idea. Yeah. It really is a survival film. It has gore in it. I mean, people die in horrible ways. So they actually go through with a lot of things that they do, and it's played for laughs without being played up for laughs. I mean, if that makes any sense. Leon's looking at me like, no, that doesn't make a bit of goddamn sense.
He's doing the math right now.
Stay quiet. I'll let you talk your way to it.
I know as I looked at you like, man, throw me a rope. Let me get out this hole.
Giving you the chance.
I ain't drowning because of you.
I actually like the ad-libbing here. I thought it worked more, but I agree with you that the strongest parts are when they're like, okay, well, we have a plot thing to do now and be driven. And I think ultimately one of the big successes of this, as opposed to other Apatow type, lots of ad-libbing, lots of guys who are obviously friends hanging out, shooting the shit type movies, is that there's that much more of an interesting plot than there is in all those other films.
Yeah, there is.
So you're like going, wow, what are they going to do next? And there actually is some fun surprises along the way. And the film even gets to that point where in the third act, they find a new motivation for these characters that shakes up everything you've seen before, in the sense of like, you know, you guys are all a bunch of self-serving douchebags. Well, you want to survive this, you got to stop doing that, which is hysterical, which really works to great comedy.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I have to admit though, there are scenes where you saw the original cast, Jonah Hill, McLovin, and Michael Cera. There's a scene where you see all those guys together interacting, but it's almost like, hey guys, we know these guys all did Superbad, and that scene with them together, I honestly wanted more of that, because honestly, I'll tell you, I love Superbad. I know this is from the writers of Superbad, and I noticed that, you know, a lot of the humor in this kind of reminded me of Superbad, to where it was just genuinely funny.
Well, you know why? Yeah. Because I didn't know this until today. I was listening to last night. I was listening to an interview with Seth Rogen, and they were talking about this movie. He directed it.
Yeah, it's his directorial debut.
Yeah, with him and Evan Goldberg, they're the guys that wrote Superbad, so that's why you see a lot of that humor here.
Well, there you go.
And yeah, I think they're a great writing team. Mm-hmm. And I really, man, yeah. After everything that I've seen this summer, where I'm talking about, seeing that's not original, boring. And this right here, a movie where it's a comedy and is and for the most part, compared to other summer blockbusters, I mean, there's a lot of cool effects in here. I mean, that's not showing you some of the cooler things in the trailer that's in here. There's money spent on this, but for being a smaller one of those type of movies, I think it's giving me the biggest surprises and the biggest laugh and also the biggest thrills. I'm giving this a full price. Ain't that nice?
Well,
why you looking? Taking your time looking at me. You don't like that, do you?
I'm waiting for Leon to take off his coat right now. Pull out his dukes.
Well, I guess I don't know. I mean, it sounds sarcastic when I say that. I'm trying to say it in a way that doesn't sound bad.
Man, come on out and just say it.
Well, I'm happy that you guys enjoyed it so much. I mean, you know, it's
that's not sarcastic. That's demeaning.
But I don't want to say it that way. But there's all these things that you say about it. They are there. There's plenty of laughs. But I just found the laughs to be, for me, they were intermittent. There'd be something I thought was pretty funny or good gag, and it'd be followed by a bunch of stuff like, yes, they're ad-libbing, they've done this before. Or, and Coles, what you mentioned, when they have something to do, it's a lot funnier than when they're just sitting around doing nothing. I mean, it's a fun premise, but at the same time, I personally felt that because these guys are playing, themselves or the characters we think of them as, it allowed them to just rely on that and not write stronger material. And that bothered me at times. I had like, oh, ha, ha, ha. Oh, that's lame. Okay, that was good. Okay, now it's not. And just that up and down. I got worn out after a while. I thought about that movie we saw earlier this year. It's a disaster, or this is a disaster.
It's a disaster.
It's a disaster where they actually were like writing something with these characters where like, with this movie, there's no progression. It's like gag, 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 gag. Okay, let's go do something. Gag, 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 gag. Yet the characters weren't developing any. I wasn't really learning anything about them. It was just like, okay, we're just going to keep telling gags until we finally get something of a plot to move towards. Whereas with the other movie, It's a Disaster, I was like, okay, we're finding out more secrets about these people and I'm intrigued. And with this, it was just like, well, I'm just here until the laughs run out. And, I don't know. I mean, it was kind of enjoyable for the most part. I left going like, well, I guess it's like a low matinee for me, but we saw it a week ago and I can better remember it. So I don't know. I'm thinking more like a high rental.
Jeez.
Oh, no. Well, we know who's out of the house when the rapture happens.
First one gone. Well, the apocalypse.
Yeah. If during the apocalypse you guys are going to sit around just watching this movie all the time, I'll go take my chance.
Well, yeah, we'll be like, you don't believe in this shit anyway. So you might as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be there with you, but not for that. Not for the reason because I didn't like this movie, because I loved this movie. I thought it was one of the funniest things I've seen, not just this year, but for a while, quite frankly. I laughed so much my stomach actually hurt at one point at certain scenes in this.
Yeah, I heard you gagging sitting next to me.
Well, no, he was giving Coase a blowjob.
Man, why you turn on him like that? He didn't do anything to you.
No comment.
He doesn't have a dick.
Hey,
Have you
wait
turned him
a
over yet?
minute, hold on now.
You're a robot head.
That's right.
I'm not giving a robot a
Got
head.
two of them.
He's been programmed to think he does.
You know, and yet no one with all the years of fan art has ever drawn that fan.
Oh, wow. Now it's going to happen.
Oh, my
Oh, welcome.
You asked for it, co-host.
Oh, I hope a girl
Here
draws it.
comes. As long as it doesn't have me blowing you, I'm all
It's going to
good.
be a little dick, though.
Call Cyrus for reference.
On my box of Fruity Pebbles in one hand and his cock in the other. All right, so
So you're giving it full price, right?
you know, what's weird is that, like, from the outset, this sounds like a nightmare to me when I really think about it. It's like story by Kevin Smith is what it feels like. I mean, it's totally something you could see him having done with Jay and Silent Bob's Further Adventures.
the movie he wish he could have done.
Stoners
Yeah.
in a vaguely Christian-esque type scenario.
true.
Like dealing with a bunch of really crude humor. But with Judd Apatow crew doing the actual jokes, and who I'm admittedly been getting kind of tired of that whole style of comedy. But here, everything does fire, on all cylinders. In fact, I love a lot of the self-referential humor. I love the fact that they call out Your Highness for being a giant piece of shit.
Sure.
It's like, yes, we win. The Spill Crew wins. We called it. That movie sucks ass. There's so much great stuff like that. I think some of the jokes might be lost on people who don't really follow everything that comes out as much as we and most of our fans do. But still, I love this. I give this a high full price, and not just because it's, you know, at the high end of full price, but because I bet this is even better if you're really fucking stoned. It should even have
Everything is better.
It should even have a warning label on it. Warning: this will be much funnier if you're high.
Oh, I'm sure. They should be handing out
well, yeah,
joints.
They told me that.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. But hey, Leon, I completely see where you're coming from, and I think this movie's going to have that same effect with a lot of people who just aren't into these actors. Like, really, you're either into these guys or you're not. And honestly, when you look at their line of work, sometimes it makes me wonder, wow, how did these guys get into comedy, by the way? But saying that,
Are
though,
we talking about us?
no, take that as you will. But no, I mean, but the thing is, I'm not going to lie. I had a lot of fun with this. It felt like I was watching a festival movie, and it was a festival movie that delivered. Sure, I don't think a lot of people are going to get some of the references or the jokes, and I think some people are probably going to be annoyed at some of the different characters in here just because they get annoyed with their long line of work. But this did feel very original. The fact that the guys were willing and more than willing to make fun of their own selves along with their careers. This movie felt like intervention for all of them to remind them who's doing good and who's not. You know, let's say, hey, you quit making those fucking movies, Michael Cera. Please, like, stop, dude. You're an asshole. We don't like you anymore. But saying that, it was a lot of fun. I had more laughs than I expected, and I have to give it a full price.
You have to give it a full price.
Yes, I don't want to give another low full price, but it was just teetering.
You can do it. Jonah Hill.
I'll give it a low
had been
full
more like
price.
his character from Superbad than what they chose to do with it.
Wait a minute, what was that?
Oh, you said I wish Jonah Hill could have been more like his character from Superbad than what they chose to do with it.
Oh, don't you say nothing, man. You didn't survive the comedy rapture. you don't get to go to comedy heaven with us right now.
I don't think any of us are going to comedy heaven, buddy.
If this is your idea of comedy heaven.
I like the way, but every week we bring people to comedy hell. Just like now.
Come on, get out!
Greg!
It's too late for you. You're already in the hole.
Damn it!
Get off me, see?
The sheriff's office is urging people to stay in their homes right now.
Looting, rioting. For all we know, the Lakers could have just won, and that's the reason why all this is happening.
I think it's the apocalypse. It's all in here. And he opened the bottomless pit.
The sinkhole, every single time I turn on the news, sinkhole in South America, a bunch of South Americans getting sucked into the ground.
Sinkhole in my house.
What you want, son? This is my game. This is my lane. Get out of the way. What you want?